What if you made one habit change per week for a whole year? What if you did that? Well, by the end of the year, you would have had made 52 upgrades to your life. And frankly, I think that this is actually an incredibly powerful method for implementing self-mastery. Because I think one of the big things we struggle with is that we set goals, we don't follow through with them. And a big reason is because what we try to do is just too hard, it's too much, and it's all at once. And so what I would recommend, for anyone out there who's struggling to build habits, or, you got a lot that you really want to change in your life or whatever, this is the best way to do it. Okay. And so the key though is really figuring out what habits to change in what sequence. Okay. So here's the general strategy for you. All right. I want you to think about your highest goals, write down your big goals. Okay. Then ideally you break them down into milestones. Okay. So if your goal is to get, in really great shape, well, then maybe the first goal is to lose 10 pounds. And then the next one is to deadlift 1.5 times your body weight, and, so on and so forth. You just kind of, break them down in terms of order. Okay. Maybe for productivity, it's like you want to become, you want to get 3 hours of deep work a day, and then maybe eventually it's up to 6 hours of deep work a day, or whatever it is that, really fits your situation. But you got your goals, you break them down into milestones. Okay. Now, each of those milestones, I want you to think about what habit changes would I need to make to support that milestone. So for example, with the diet one, that first milestone of like losing 10 pounds, maybe it's like a set of habits that would be things like, trade soda for water, go for a 10-minute walk after meals, something like that. Or maybe it's like a one substitution. Instead of eating this thing, I eat this thing. Or maybe it even just focuses on having one clean meal a day. And you start with one, and then it becomes two, and then it becomes three, or whatever. Okay. And this is really what you're looking for, is you're looking for a list. You're looking for a list of small but significant habit changes. And when you can produce that list, then it's just a matter of implementing them. And so a real simple way to do this is you just kind of have yourself a habit tracker or something like that. And, you just pick one habit, you do it for the week. And you keep tracking that habit after that week, probably up to at least 3 or 4 weeks. You want to keep tracking it. If it's a really big one, like a massive habit change, you might track it even longer. But for the most part, you just, after 3 weeks, usually you pretty much have it. So it's like you've got 3 things that you're tracking, and it's like habit change number 1, boom, you do it for a week. Now the next week you add a new habit change, you still track the previous one. And that third week, you still track you're tracking all 3, but you've added 3. Okay. So you just keep doing this, and eventually you'll get to where you want to go. And you just want to make sure that you're trying to be intelligent about it. If it's too big, you probably won't maintain it that week. Or you won't maintain it the following weeks. So usually, like I said, if you can get to 3, you pretty well have the thing. Again, unless it's like a massive change, like, going, a couple weeks without porn, 3 weeks without porn doesn't mean that you're off porn. That sort of thing. But like for most other habits, usually it's pretty, around 3 weeks. If you got it, then, it's yours as long as you want it. So, let's walk through an example here. Say you typically do 3 hours of deep work, and you want to double it to 6 hours of deep work. How might you set this up? Well, maybe the first week habit change is you get up a half an hour earlier and you do half hour of work before you start your day. All right. Then that's not too hard. At least it shouldn't be. If you're someone who really struggles with schedule changes, maybe this isn't one that you would use, but just an example here. Then maybe the second habit change you make is that you switch to low carb breakfasts and lunches, because you notice that when you eat a bunch of carbs, which is what you usually do, you kind of have this lull. You have this big energy dip that you face during the day. And so, you're going to try going lower carb. And that'll be the second one. And maybe even just doing that, by this point, you might hit your goal of 6 hours of work here and there, but that's not what you're tracking. You're tracking the food. Okay. because, we want to build up to that 6 in a sustainable way. Just because you can hit it sometimes doesn't mean that you're always going to be able to hit it. So this steady 1 habit change per week sort of approach is making sure that you really have the foundation built up. So after you do the meal changes, maybe you focus on hitting 3 hours of work after breakfast and before lunch. So that would, in your case, that in this scenario, that would bring us up to 3.5 hours. Okay, if we have that morning half hours block. And then maybe the next change would be making that morning half hour block to an hour. Instead of getting up half an hour earlier, you get up a full hour earlier. And that gives you a, full hour. So now you're up to 4 hours. Then maybe next thing you do is like, all right, after lunch, I want to go for a short walk and I take a quick power nap. And then I'm going to do 1 hour of work. So I now have a 1 hour work block in the afternoon as well. Great. You implement that for a week. And then maybe the final week is you make that after work or after lunch work block 2 hours. And then boom, you've hit 6 hours of deep work, and you've built up to it over the span of 6 weeks. And this is going to be far more effective and sustainable if you do something like this, rather than just trying to jump from 3 hours to 6 hours. Like even if you can do it, sometimes you're probably not going to stay there. And in order to, if you just keep trying it, yeah, maybe you'll get to there over time, but it's likely going to take a lot longer than 6 weeks to get there sustainably. So what's cool is that this approach of like 1 habit change per week, it works for any area of life, whether it's fitness, productivity, whether it's, you're trying to get yourself to become a content creator, whatever the heck it is. Like I mentioned that because that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to think of like, if I'm going to start producing more content, how much would I want to be doing per day? What are the shifts I want to be doing? And so, yeah, the real key is making sure that you get the sequencing down and making sure that you're selecting the right habits. And if you want my help with this, well, then you might want to check out my new high performance coaching program, where I could work with you one-on-one to really spell out exactly what kind of changes you want to be making in what order. I've been doing this habit change stuff for 10 years professionally, helping guys with it. So, I've learned a lot of tricks about what works and what doesn't. So if you want to hear more about that, you want to apply to the program, then click the link in the description. But other than that, that's what I have for you, my friends. Ooh, yeah. See you all in the next one.